Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Lois. I'll be chairing today's session. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here. It promises to be a really insightful discussion on sustainability, business growth and the future of e-commerce. So firstly, for those of you that we haven't met yet, let me introduce you to SOZO. So SOZO is a full service digital marketing agency, and we are e-commerce experts with a really deep understanding of the digital retail space. More importantly, we are a certified B Corp, which means that we are committed to using business as a force for good. And we are so lucky today to have an incredible lineup of experts who bring a wealth of knowledge in sustainability and e-commerce. So let's quickly meet them. Sean, can you do a quick introduction?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sean. I'm the creative director and the founder of SOZO.
Excellent. And Joseph?
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I'm Joseph. I'm marketing director. I oversee the marketing department.
Great. Vanessa, over to you, not Nicholas.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Vanessa Arbuthnott, creator, founder, and I don't know what else I am, director of Vanessa Arbuthnott Fabrics.
Thanks, Vanessa. And Colby.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Colby Self. I'm the founder and CEO of Carbon Checkout. It's an e-commerce app that we'll be talking about a bit today.
Excellent. Thanks so much, guys. So what can you expect from today's session? Well, we'll cover key insights into the green advantage, real-world examples, and actionable strategies that you can take away and apply to your business. Hopefully by the end, you'll understand how sustainability can be a competitive advantage for e-commerce brands. Finally, before we kick off, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. So if you've got any questions, please do drop them into the Q&A box. You'll find that in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. It's behind the three shapes, and you can open that up and select Q&A. We'll try and cover as many as we can, but if we don't get to your question, please don't worry. We'll follow up with you afterwards, so make sure you leave your name. Okay, so let's dive in, and Sean, will start today with you, if that's okay, please. So can you tell us a little bit about what exactly is the green advantage, and how are e-commerce clients using it to drive growth?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lois, and welcome everybody. Yeah, the reason we wanted to do this webinar is we're noticing a big shift, a growing shift in consumer demand, more towards conscious consumerism. So conscious consumers, especially younger ones, but this applies across all generations, I think, really want to know who you are as a business and what you stand for. More so than ever, I think people really want to know who they're buying from online and whether you align with their values. Yes, you're going to get a big swathe of people who just want to buy the cheapest thing on Amazon and eBay, but we're not talking about that type of consumer. We're talking about much more conscious consumer. So this is also especially true when it comes to sustainability. So consumers nowadays really want to know how sustainable your product is, or your packaging, or just you as a company, and they're willing to pay more for it. You know, a PwC study last year said people were willing to pay up to 10% more for sustainable products. Brands like Patagonia have really led the way in this regard. A great example, and proved that sustainability can be good for profit as well as the planet. The main theme of this webinar. So people generally spend more, they're more loyal, and they're more likely to refer you to their friends. So this can give small independent retailers like yourselves, a real advantage over the mega brands of Amazon and eBay, which can feel very daunting sometimes to compete with.
Great stuff. And SOZO is now an official B Corp, holds official B Corp status. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, yeah, B Corp, for those who don't know, it's an accreditation for high social and environmental standards. So it's about using business as a force for good. And this is a good example, really. It's not why we did it, but it actually has been good for our business. We've won clients off the back of it. And it's given us real focus and direction as a business. So it's a good example of being sustainable, but also good for profit. And again, that's the theme today.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Sean. Okay, so Joseph, can you tell us a little bit about, or elaborate a little bit about why green is so good for business?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lois. Before I answer that question, I'm just going to make a statement, because I think it's really important to recognize, and we see this across the brands that we're working with, that at the moment, e-commerce brand managers have really been squeezed. It's challenging for brand managers at the moment. The UK economy is pretty much flat. People are operating on a lower profit margin. Ad spends are higher. A cost per click or a cost per acquisition has increased over the years, and general business costs have increased as well. So we really recognize that it's a pretty difficult environment for e-commerce to flourish in at the moment. We've also seen that there's been an increase in choice for consumers. Seems like a new e-commerce brand launched almost every day, and a lot are fighting purely on cost. As Sean mentioned there, that's not the sort of client that we're looking to engage with, but still it's there. They are competing. They are putting products out that are very low in cost, and that can be distracting for somebody making a chosen purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So how does an SME compete, Lois, in that sort of environment? Because that sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? But there is silver lining, absolutely, as always. We feel that it's essential now to present sustainability as a core brand value. Why is that? Well, we're making this statement that green is good for business. So in order to fulfill that statement, sustainability must be a core brand value. But can we back up that statement with some data? Or is it just something that we like saying? Well, if I just run through a few figures, Sean mentioned a few stats there, and we've got a whole bunch of stats on an article that we're publishing on our website that people can have a look at after this webinar. But here's a couple. UK research shows that 54% of consumers have switched to more sustainable brands. 54% of consumers switching to more sustainable brands. 72% of Gen Z and millennials prefer brands that emphasize sustainability. One of the reasons is because it makes those types of brands more shareable on social media. So that's people referring your brand without any cost to you. So those are a couple of good reasons why green is good for business. We've also seen, Sean mentioned there, Patagonia, brands that have sustainability as a core value. People stay loyal to that brand. The lifetime value increases as people display sustainability as a core brand. So Patagonia is one brand. Another brand that I've really engaged with, you may or may not have heard of them, Tom's Shoes.
We've heard.
I love them. I found out about Tom's Shoes a few years back, and I just bought some of their beachwear shoes. And I didn't particularly know about the brand and the sustainability behind that until I started to look after I'd actually made the purchase. I bought the shoes because I liked them and they were a good price. But looking into some of the brand values that they offered made me want to buy from them again. Not because of the shoes of a similar style weren't available or at a better price, but because I liked the product, but I liked what they stood for as well. So I've now got 4 pairs of Tom's shoes, Lois, which it exposes a little bit about my wardrobe requirements. But I think it demonstrates, just on a personal basis, how that lifetime value increases, because not only did I engage with the product because I like them, I like the brand value. So let's just run through a few of those. Tom's, you might think, oh, well, that's named after the founder. Well, it's actually not. It's an abbreviation for tomorrow. So this brand is thinking about the future. That's one of its core brand values. It is a fellow B Corp, but their score is at 127, where 80 is the qualification score. I think on one of the stats, something like only 5% of US shoe producers would be given B Corp accreditation if they went in for it. They give 1/3 of their profits back to society via trusted partners. And they involve their team as well. So their team are involved in volunteer programs to give back to their local community and to nature. And one of the things that they do particularly well, if I've just got a moment to share my screen, is that each year they actually produce this impact overview. There we go, impact report. So they're completely transparent about profitability, what they've done to support community, their manufacturing processes and standards. They display everything. That's completely open to the public. Now, not all SMEs are going to be able to do that. That's sort of the gold standard of how to present yourself and how to pull sustainability as a core brand value. That's an example to have a look at, though, and have a look at on their website how they present themselves as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Joseph. I think it's important to note as well that we're seeing search volumes increase as well for sustainable products, aren't we? So it's not a ruse. People actually are out there searching for better and more responsible solutions.
Yeah, absolutely, Lois. I'm glad you highlighted that. So in Google search volume, and anybody can do this if you just do some quick keyword research, sustainability within the product type is on the increase. So this is absolutely data showing that there's a growing demand. And we see this from the brands that we're working with, from consumables as basic as toiletries through to luxury garden furniture. Sustainability type terms within Google are on the increase. So I think it's clear we can see sustainability is increasingly becoming essential for e-commerce growth, not just a nice to have.
Brilliant. And that leads us really nicely on to the next part of our webinar, where I'd like to welcome you to Vanessa, or ask you to welcome Vanessa with me. So obviously Vanessa is the founder of Vanessa Arbuthnott Fabrics, a renowned British textile brand. So they're well known for their timeless designs, high quality fabrics, but also the commitment to sustainability. And Vanessa shows us how SMEs can do it too. So with that said, we're really excited to hear your insights on how sustainability is shaping the business. And first of all, I think we'll start with, how have green credentials added value to your business, Vanessa?
Yes, it's a very interesting question, because it's sort of almost like I've done this sort of backwards to front approach. So again, for 25 years, and right from the start, we committed to, if you like, green credentials. And our biggest credential in our industry is only using organic cotton in our cloth. And that's where we make the biggest difference, if you like. Rest of it is almost now to be expected, using sustainable materials, being upcycling, recycling, not having any waste. But actually the core principle of only using organic cotton was made out of the horror of understanding the damage that non-organic cotton was causing to the environment, with a massive use of water and the bad effect of the insecticides and herbicides on the cotton pickers. Had some 2,700 litres of water is needed to grow enough cotton to make one cotton t-shirt, and that's in a non-organic cotton. Whereas with organic cotton, it's still bad, 243 litres to make enough cotton for one t-shirt. Would be really, really shocking statistic, and also the damage physically to the farmers because of the chemicals they have to endure, and the suicides that go on because of debt from the, I could go on forever, but basically we mustn't touch non-organic cotton. Everywhere we go, we've got to ask, do you have organic cotton jeans? Have you got organic cotton knickers at Marks and Spencer's? They do, you have to ask for them. So that So the commitment to using organic cotton in our cloth, which we combine with flax, which is an eco-friendly crop to grow, was a kind of core move right at the start. And only yesterday I was asking my printer, there's about 2 printers left in this country, how many people are using organic cotton in your home? How many people are asking you on using? He said, nobody, you're the only one, because it's expensive. It's more expensive. So as you were saying earlier, we're sort of expecting, we don't put our prices up either to compensate for it. We're just absorbing the £2 or £3 or £4 or £5 a metre more on principle, really. And it's always been a very important part of the business.
Wow. Okay. So that's kind of from a materials point of view, kind of how you're thinking more sustainably. What are some of the day-to-day things that you're doing within the business to be more sustainable?
Yes. Well, I was saying that was sort of more of the run-of-the-mill things, which everybody expects you to do now, and which I don't think are necessarily newsworthy. But what we do are use ecotricity, so we make sure our electricity comes from a sustainable sources, not from fossil fuels. We have an air source heat pump. We make sure any van is delivering our goods or collecting goods are full and on having multi drop-offs, not just one van going to Aberdeen, and all the way back. We make sure that we have absolutely nil waste fabric. We give away the smallest pieces often to make a very small charge to patch workers. So we actually have a no waste strategy. We reuse packaging. We don't mind if the boxes have other brands on them, but we want to use up all the cardboard boxes that come our way, and the cardboard tubes. All our suppliers bring back the cardboard core tubes and we reuse those. I think those are probably the one thing we don't do at all well, and we need to improve on, is our use of plastic packaging, and we need to find an alternative for that. So if anybody's got any bright ideas, we'd love to know about a really compostable plastic or an alternative material.
Yeah, definitely. Please share that with us in the Q&A if anybody's got any insights there. Great, thanks so much, Vanessa. And one thing that I'm really curious to understand is how you managed to instill this ethos amongst your whole team.
Yes, well, we sort of attract people who have got the ethos in the first place. Everybody, I feel, that comes towards the business likes the product. So I have to handle it all day long. They're going to have to like it. And they are people who care generally about the environment, about the world, and contribute into this ethos. So they have ideas, or they come up with better ways of doing things. So I think it's really more of a kind of shared thing. I don't think I'm instilling it. I think that they are contributing and have come to the business conscious what we're doing. But they also probably have had their eyes opened to some poor practices that we're trying to avoid.
Great. So it's almost like an unconscious hiring decision then, isn't it? Are you eco-conscious?
It is a part of the interview, funnily enough. Now you've actually asked me that. But one thing I will say, which is that we were talking earlier about, I didn't think that people were really caring about our product being so eco-conscious, but actually, having talked to the team more over the last week, they tell me that more and more people say they've come to us because of our eco-credentials and our conscious decision to not to harm the environment, and that it is, as Rosa and Sean were saying, it is becoming, I want them to call it a unique selling point, but it is becoming definitely a more conscious thing. It's all about education, isn't it, and trying to get out there, the harmful things that we've all been doing for years and not kind of realising.
Great. Well, thanks so much for all of those insights, Vanessa. It's really nice to hear that you don't have to be a huge, big corporate to make these positive kind of steps and changes. We know that the road is pretty rocky for small businesses out there at the moment, but I think it really boils down to that idea of just because you can't do everything doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something that we can all take away from this session today. It's the little things that add up that really make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
That leads me on then nicely to our next guest, Colby, who has a brilliant solution to share with us. So welcome, Colby. Colby's a global expert, entrepreneur and advisor. Talk to us a little bit about your background. You tell us, Colby.
Sure.
The inspiration as well behind Carbon Checkout.
Certainly. Thank you all for the opportunity. It's wonderful to be with you this morning. So my background is in environmental policy, working with government institutions, NGOs like WWF. And along that way, working on the policy side, I learned after about 10 years in my career that the top-down approach was going to take too long for my liking. I have 3 children, and I thought we need to enact change now. So how do we do bottom up? And so I kicked off this idea called Carbon Checkout in 2015, where I brought my environmental expertise to match a tech solution. And the tech solution is called Carbon Checkout. It's a plug-in application that integrates into e-commerce stores. And what we do is embed sustainability in the checkout funnel. So you as a merchant, you don't necessarily have a sustainability team. You may not have your own tech team. We have both. So you simply install our application. As your customers follow through their experience towards checkout, their proposition to make a small contribution to an impact project that aligns with your brand and hopefully aligns with their values. They make that micro contribution, £1 or less. We collect it into a fund, and then we invest in projects on their behalf. Every customer gets to see a portfolio of impact. So that £1 goes to this project, and this is what happened with it. So transparency is a cornerstone to showing real impact. If you make a donation at the checkout in store, a lot of times you give £1 and you never see anything. So with e-commerce, we're able to track over time. So you as a customer, maybe you've given to 1,000 different stores that we've partnered with, and you can see that accumulate over your history. And we keep that ready and available for free. So every customer has that, every merchant has that, and so on. So I guess one thing that we didn't set out to do, but in fact what happened was we impacted the checkout funnel and the KPIs. So we didn't realize this. We thought it was just something good to do. But in fact, we were impacting conversion. So we saw an uplift of up to 15% on some of our partner stores. We saw average order values increasing. We saw a boost in customer satisfaction. And then ultimately, we saw a lifetime value increasing. So, while this was thought of as just a good thing, we actually learned that it's actually not just good, it's good for business. And I think that kind of is why it makes sense to the KPIs that Joseph was speaking about earlier. A lot of SMEs think about sustainability and yes, let's just do something. Well, we now have a solution where we can do something without cost to the partner and actually measure the success. If it's not performing, it's a quick uninstall and you're out. It's not a long-term relationship. So I encourage everyone to give it a try. You give it a test, even if it's 1 day or 1 week, and you can compare numbers.
Great. I'd love to see what this all looks like, Colby. Have you got something you can share with us?
Sure, let me share my screen.
Great, thank you.
Okay, just very quickly as a merchant, the demo I'm giving you today, it is for a product that will be released in about 2 to 3 weeks. So early to mid-April is a very new product. The current product is a simple checkbox and it's fully automated if you were to install it today. This product is going to be a little bit more enhanced because we're talking about impact ads, a stronger visual performance that aligns with the brand. So on the Shopify App Store, I didn't mention this, but we predominantly work with Shopify stores. If you're not on Shopify, we can spin up a custom solution, no problem, and it will perform very much like this.
Just spin it up.
Just spin it up. Not me, that's the tech team's job. So if you were to go to the Shopify App Store, search for Carbon Checkout, you'd click install, and it's that simple. It goes right into your e-commerce storefront. You would activate it. It would ask you, do you want to activate this on your live store? You'd say yes. Now you have a dashboard that's embedded, and it's all native tools within Shopify. So you would know what all these buttons do. It's not like you're learning anything from the start. You can set your settings, and this new feature is selecting which project you like. So before we would recommend a project. Now we want brands to own that, make the decision about which project, which region, and which impact is going to resonate with their customer base and with their product line. So it could be regenerative agriculture, where we're looking at hemp or cottons, organic and regenerative processes. It could be rewilding projects that are animating the carbon cycle. It can be renewable energy. It can be tree planting and so on. So whatever it is, if we don't have it in our portfolio, we'll source it for you if you have something in mind. And I think to that point, we're learning that local projects connect more with customers. If they're investing in their backyard and they can see it visually, it has a larger impact and a higher conversion. So let me get back to this. You select the project, and then you move forward to your theme editor. It opens up, and then you simply drag and drop. So you place the impact block wherever you want in the checkout experience. Product page, cart, post-purchase, wherever you like. And then you use the theme editor tools to customize the call to action. So all the fonts can be customized. Imagery can be customized. The widget dimensions can be customized. And I think for foreign language, you can translate it to meet your different spaces. So it's that simple to install. And then you have your analytics tab, which you can go back to track and understand how are my customers engaging with this new initiative. If it's not performing, we can make tweaks, we can optimize this, we can run A/B tests. If it's too much, you want to install it and there's no loss. But because it's free to the merchant, you kind of got to try it. So that's what I'm here to do, encouraging everyone to give it a try. And share your feedback with us. As we're learning, as we go, user interactions are key to our optimizations down the road. So that's how easy it is.
Brilliant.
Really great. I think if you just go, just looking at that checkout, I think just by having it on your website shows the consumer you care. Even if they don't do it, even if you as a retailer you don't have to actually do anything there. Just by showing you care, I think you can get a lot of equity from that.
That's right. And you can promote it as far and wide as you want. If you want to be out there talking about it, you can. If you don't, it's sitting there alive and it's fully managed. It doesn't take any resources on behalf of the business. And I think it's like the hardest part about getting started is getting started. We're trying to make that easy. So if you don't have a sustainability initiative, this can be your plug-in sustainability initiative that you start to build on top.
Amazing. I love that we've got the analytics kind of portal in that as well, so that you can actually kind of measure it as a business and see what impacts you're having over time. I think that's really nice to see. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. Just one last point on the analytics. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we weren't measuring. This was just a good initiative. But when we start to talk with larger businesses, it's all about the bottom line. Like you're not pitching the sustainability team, you're pitching the business group. And they want to know, how do we make more money? And if we can say that being sustainable and endorsing this initiative is going to actually positively impact your bottom line, well, then it's a win-win. Unfortunately, that's the way it works with big business. I mean, we have to make that convincing argument. Without the analytics, it's impossible to promote. But now that we actually have those KPIs in place, now I'm saying to the big boys, why not?
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Yes, Joseph.
Do we have time for a question, Lois? Because
Yes.
one of the things
One quick one.
I really enjoyed talking to you about previously, Colby, was the fact that you you are aligning those initiatives with the product type, the purchase type. You mentioned about somebody buying skis. You're doing an initiative for mountain uptake or whatever the environmental impacts you could support within in those areas. And talking about reporting as well, you mentioned maybe some top line figures on conversion rate improvement because of that alignment. Sorry to put you on the spot, Colby, but do you have any of those?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, it's a great point. Thanks, Joseph, for the question. When we first started, we had generic projects that we did the due diligence on, and we believed in these projects. But it might be a project in Southeast Asia where the customer and the product line was being sold in North America. There was no direct connection between the impacts and the user or the brand. We were seeing about 2% conversion. When we started to link up regionally relevant projects, say in Canada, with a brand that's selling skis in British Columbia, we see a conversion upwards of 40% when it's that closely aligned. On average, we've bumped conversions of 15% across all of our stores. We've worked with about 2,500 stores to date. So we have, enough impact data to start to draw some conclusions that, yes, it matters what project you're investing in, and yes, it matters what region you're investing in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Colby.
Right. And that actually answers one of the questions that we had in the Q&A, Joseph. So just stealing from the end section there, but that's okay. I'll let you off. I think it's a really great question. And I really look forward to seeing more of that data coming out over time, Colby. Thanks so much. For reference, we will share a link to Carbon Checkout with everybody after the webinar. So please do keep an eye out for that and have a look for yourself and have a play around. So Sean, then, bringing things back to you, could you tell us a little bit more about how SOZO, how we as an agency are implementing sustainability into the design, the web build phase, and helping our clients to become more sustainably focused?
Yeah, sure. Well, some of the things we're doing is actually looking at how we build websites, design and build websites, because that all has a carbon footprint. So every time you visit a website, there's a footprint. So we've just launched our new website today, sozodesign.co.uk, and it's been designed from the ground up to have a low footprint, but also we've added an extra eco mode, which turns off even more stuff. It turns images to black and white, takes out some animation and so on. So just to highlight the point, really. And we have this on our site, and we'd recommend it on all of your websites too, is have a sustainability page. Tell your audience what you're doing, even if it's not perfect. Nobody's perfect in this space. Mm-hmm. As Vanessa said, organic cotton, but they're struggling to find a replacement for plastic. But as long as you're truthful, it's really important to make people aware. So on your product pages, tell people about the packaging, or about recycling, or I don't know, it might be green electric vans for delivery. Whatever it is, just tell people about it. It all makes a difference. So yeah, and a few people, say to us they're worried about being accused of greenwashing and things like that. But I would say, as long as your claims are truthful, as long as you just tell people what you're doing, then I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, I think that transparency is just such a big thing, isn't it, for people? And I think the more interested people are becoming in behaving more sustainably in every aspect of their life, the more people are starting to look for things like this to really, get to know the brand and understand the brand. Okay, great. And anything else that you wanted to cover, Sean?
Well, I think, if you want to take it further to the next level, then you could look at accreditations like B Corp or ISO 14001, 1% for the planet. Those are more sort of external validations where you can get a stamp of approval, but it is quite a process to go through, warn you. But well worth it in the end. But yeah, you can work towards that, but don't feel you can't do anything until you get a big stamp of approval. There's lots of things you can do along the way.
Great. Thanks so much, Sean. Okay, so that moves us on to our Q&A section. So guys in the audience, please feel free to send your questions through. We've had a couple already, and we did have a few sent in ahead of the webinar. So whilst you think of your own questions to send in, I will draw on some of those. And one of the big questions, and I think, Joseph, this might be quite a nice one for you to address from a marketing perspective, is how do we communicate all of these values alongside everything else that we have to offer as a brand, all our products and services and USPs? Like, how important is it for us to be talking about sustainability, and how often should we be doing that?
Well, I mean, hopefully we've demonstrated the importance of having sustainability as a core brand value. The figures, the data doesn't lie. There's an increase in requirement for that, and also it's helping e-commerce brands to grow as well. So the importance is there. There's no doubt about that. And Sean mentioned as well, setting up a page that's specifically demonstrating this, so talking to people about everything that you're involved with. So that could be the parties such as ecology, SOZO are involved with ecology, B Corp, getting that accreditation, making sure that you present that information clearly to people when they visit your website. But also it can be, as I mentioned about Tom's, they get their team involved. So it's sort of running through the vein of the business. We do the same at SOZO. Lois, you were involved as well, planting 1,000 trees over.
Indeed.
Yeah, primary school in Oxford, small initiatives like that all really help out. And I think personally, it's important to share that information to show that we don't just talk about this, we really demonstrate that it means something to us and it's part of our business, part of how we approach our business as well. In terms of presenting throughout a user journey on the site itself, you don't want it to interrupt that user journey, but you'd want it to enhance that user journey. So Colby's product, Carbon Checkout, is an absolutely brilliant example of that. So throughout, people are still buying into the product. They want the product, they want the pricing in place. In addition to that, say Carbon Checkout demonstrates that you're involved in sustainability and to what level.
Great stuff. Thanks, Joseph. Any of our other speakers have anything to add on that note? No, very quiet panel today. Okay, I will move on then to the next question. And Colby, this is one for you. I think one of our viewers has submitted a question whilst you were talking a little bit earlier about, can the consumer decide where their donation goes if they're making a purchase with a brand? Is there the option to offer kind of multiple?
Right. So at this point in time, it's not. The brand is deciding which projects they want to feature and that they can stand behind, because we feel it important that the brand make that decision that it's featured on their storefront. There is an upcoming feature that'll probably come in about 6 months, where the customer within their back-end portfolio can decide to change the project purchase. So what I mean is, once they check out, they've selected a project. They receive a confirmation email with a verification code, which they click and opens up their Carbon Checkout portfolio. Here they see, I gave £1 at this time from this store, and it's invested in this project. We're discussing an option where they can actually choose another project and then up their contributions. So if they like what they're seeing and engaging, then they can increase their volume, and we could potentially reconnect them with the brand, kind of a retargeting opportunity. The brand might choose to match that contribution. Another reconnection where we can circle them back to our partners. I would welcome lots of input. None of this has been tested, but it's something we really want to try, because having choice, we all like choice. So the more we can give without, overwhelming people, then I think the better.
It's a fine balance, isn't it? I think if I was presented with an opportunity to make a donation at the checkout, but I could choose from a list of 50 places that I wanted that to go. All of a sudden, yeah, it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to skip it. So
yeah, and we're in a very important, part of the checkout funnel. We cannot slow the checkout. If they've selected a product and put it into cart, we want to affirm that purchase and move them through. So we're talking 5 seconds. That's all we want. Split-second decision, opt in, and it's over with. Once they opt in, they don't want to remove that from their cart, right? They've kind of like already committed, and that's where you're going to see an increase in your conversion is you've tied impact now with that product. It's hard to abandon.
Yeah, no, for sure. Great, thank you. I'll move on to the next question. I'm conscious we're quickly running out of time today, and I'll leave this one open to the panel for any of you to jump in on. What else do we do to improve customer acquisition and lifetime value? I'm assuming this is with sustainability in mind and not generally, because then we really could go on for hours. Any thoughts and ideas?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of lifetime value, like I said right at the start, people really want to know who you are as a company now. When it's not so transactional. It comes to small independent e-commerce brands. When I first started doing e-commerce 25 years ago, it was all independent small brands. There were no big marketplaces or mega brands. So I think there's a slow shift back towards that, almost like shop local online. You've got to tell people about it. So you've got to, in your email comms and your social medias, don't just talk about the product and sales all the time. Talk about you as a business. Would you agree, Vanessa?
Yes, I do. I think it always felt, sort of rather, I don't know, un-English to sort of self-promote on the sort of the good things you were doing, but like kind of think that we've got to put that away now and be bolder. And somehow that's why it's great working with you guys at SOZO, because, you're going to help me to somehow put these important issues at the front of our marketing. And with your experience, I have absolutely no experience. I can draw a fern and make a fabric, but I'm not an expert in how to tell people about what, being proud really and what we're doing in places and the importance of those things. And so I think that one thing is to realize where your limitations are and employ some good people around you to help.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vanessa. We didn't pay Vanessa to say that.
No, you didn't actually. I do feel it. I do feel that support's in place now, and that hopefully we can, shout out a bit more and make it reach new customers and tell our existing customers what's going on with us and why they should buy from us.
I think just seeing the faces, these real people, they're not, factory workers in China. These are real people in the UK that are handling these materials, or, these real people that are working on your PPC strategies. I think getting those faces out there really kind of helps to reaffirm that value, doesn't it, Sean, of, transparency and, we are who we are as a brand.
Yeah, and humans by our nature, once we get to know a person or a brand, we are instantly more loyal.
Humans buy from humans.
Yep.
Okay, folks, I'm really sorry to say that is all we've got time for today. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined us to watch along, and of course to our wonderful panel of speakers as well. Colby, Vanessa, Joseph, Sean, you've been great and had some really, really interesting things to bring to the table today. So thanks so much for all of your time. We will be sending the video recording out following the webinar, so keep your eyes peeled on email for that. And there is a lot of supporting content coming your way as well around this topic. Just before we started the webinar, Sean was like, oh, I felt inspired to write a blog. So we've got a few blogs coming out. There'll be an ebook as well. And of course, our schedule of webinars will be continuing throughout the year as well. So do keep your eyes peeled for all the details on the next ones. We hope that you found this session really useful. We hope that we've left your brains buzzing, and we hope that you are thinking about ways to implement more sustainable strategies into your own business. If you have any further questions, please get in touch. As I say, we'll be following up with email comms afterwards. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
Thank you.